Welcome to High Strangeness, where we ask questions and explore all that is strange and unexpected in our reality.
Welcome to High Strangeness. My name is Tony, and I am your host, and this is the place where we talk all things strange and unexpected. Today our program will be an interview, and our topic is, it's going to be a difficult one, and it could be one to be hard to talk through. We'll see how the interview goes, but the reason for that is because we're going to be talking about an event that happened that is a very difficult one to talk about. On March 22nd, 2014 at 10:37 a.m. local time, 4 miles east of Oso, Washington in the United States, a portion of an unstable hill collapsed, sending mud and debris to the south across the North Fork of the Stiligamish River, engulfing a neighborhood and covering an area of approximately 1 square mile. 43 people were killed and 49 homes and other structures were destroyed. This mudslide or landslide has been described as one, if not the most, deadly landslides in American history. And among those 43 that were lost was Steve Hadaway. And today our guest is John Hadaway, who is Steve's brother. John, thank you so much for being with us here today. And I know that if the audience could say this to you, they would, which is how sorry we are for your loss and your family's loss. And I know it's been 10 years, but I know it doesn't really get less painful. It's always difficult. And so I just wanted to say that right up front. And once again, I appreciate you coming on with us today to share some of these things. How are you doing?
Thank you, no problem.
How
Doing okay. 10 years, it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey last 10 years.
Yes. I'm wondering, I thought I read somewhere that Steve had a wife and children. Is that true?
Correct.
Yes. How are they doing?
A wife and 2 girls. They're doing good. They're doing good. The pain never goes away. You just learn how to deal with it. And 10 years, you have your good days, your bad days, but it still seems pretty raw sometimes.
It's one of those things that I don't know. We'll talk more about it later, but it's always hard to lose somebody. But when it's unexpected, I feel it's sometimes more difficult. And I think for me, and I'm going to say this for the audience as well, our prayers go out to you, to your family, to Steve's wife and 2 daughters, and blessings of as much comfort as possible. So are you ready to talk about this today?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to start here, if we can. Can you tell us a little bit about your family, your relationship with your brother, the interactions you and he had growing up, and up to the point, where you were adults? I think it's neat for people to just, in their mind's eye, see and visualize the dynamic of your family and your relationship. Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, we're a pretty close family. We, me and my 2 brothers and my oldest sister, grew up in the South. We moved to Washington in '77. My aunt and uncle, that's my mom's sister, lived up here, and my dad came up here one time, and my grandma lives on Whidbey Island. So, and that's just a ferry ride over. So that was another reason why. We just, we just always did everything together. We, played street football. You hang out with the same friends, go to the same school. So we're pretty close. You have your spats. You're a typical family like everybody else, but he was always there for you. No matter what, he was. We were, like I said, we were just real close, and we just did, everything together. So it was, growing up, I could say I had probably one of the best childhoods that you could ever have. I had awesome brothers and my sister, and so it's very, very few negative things or unhappy things that I could say that we really had.
Yeah, that's wonderful. No, please go ahead.
No, and then as we got older, my brother went into military. He was in the Marines. He got out of the Marines. And we always stayed in touch. No matter where he lived, we usually did Christmases at his house. And so everybody would, gather over there, and we would do Christmases over there. And, my mom, and as we got older and we got our own families, and my in-laws would go over, and my other brother's in-laws, and we would just all gather together. It was truly a family event. And I know a lot of people probably think, well, that's typical, but for us, it was typical, because that's what we did every year. And like on Christmas, we would start 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we wouldn't stop until probably 9, 10 o'clock at night.
That's awesome. Yeah, you said it may be typical for others, but I think it's less and less typical in society. In fact, what you're describing is exactly what we would want. I know as a father with grown kids, that is how I want to see my normal interactions with my kids and my grandkids, and during the holidays. So what you have was wonderful. That's really good. Let me pivot for just a minute. I want to talk a little bit for the audience's sake about the area that we're going to cover. I'm going to actually put something on the screen just for perspective. This way folks can kind of see where we're talking about. So this is Oso, Washington, right? Does your family and did your brother Steve live very close to this area? Do you guys all live there in that area?
No, we used to all live in the Tacoma area, and then I moved to Puyallup. My other brother, he was lived in Tacoma, and then Steve ended up moving to Darrington, which is about 6 miles away from Oso. And the first time we ever drove out there, I remember telling him that if he never wants visitors, he picked the perfect place to go, because it's a jaunt to get out there, but it's a beautiful, beautiful area. So he lived in Darrington, which was about 6 miles from where the slide happened.
Wow. Darrington, okay. A little bit about this area. When you look at the map, it's very green. I know the Pacific Northwest is considered to be, very rainy, very wet. Would that be true for this area as well?
Yes, especially that month. And back in 2014, I can't remember exactly, but I think they've got 14 to 20 inches of rain that month.
Wow. So it was definitely a situation where there was more water than what they were used to seeing out there, is what you're saying.
For that month, I mean, Washington is a rainy state, but yeah, for that month it was just it was quite a bit of rain.
Yeah. You had mentioned that it was a hike to get out there. Was it higher up in elevation, or is it just
No, it was just no. So where the slide is, further below the screen, you'll see the highway. It's about 6 miles further if you keep going right on your map. So it wasn't higher or lower. It was just a little further out.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, just for a little bit of background for the audience, the towns and communities in these areas, clearly it's not in a city, so it's out a little bit. Are these pockets of small communities in that area of small little towns and things like that? Is that how you would describe this area where this happened?
That area had more homes than if you were to drive down the highway. You would see a home here, a home there, but not as many homes as that area had in one particular area.
Gotcha. The Steelhead Drive community, was that a kind of a built community, new homes or anything like that at some point in the past, where they just built a bunch of them together?
Yes, there was, if I'm not mistaken, where the arrow is, that area was built up first with homes, and then the left side of the area was built up, I think, a little bit later. But that was the main entrance off the highway to get into Steelhead Drive.
And is that it says it on the screen, but I'm just double checking. Was that the name of the community? Is that what they called it, Steelhead Drive community?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. That actually was, I was curious at first because they referred to it as Oso, and so I didn't know if would this be considered Oso also still?
It's kind of on the outskirts. It's, I believe it's like 4 miles outside of Oso, so it's kind of just a little on the outskirts, and some people called it Steel Haven. So it's just, it's like it is. It's its own little community at the time.
Yeah. This river, did I say that right? Stillaguamish River?
Correct.
Okay. Is that a large river, or is it like a smaller stream?
I guess it's all in perspective. For me, it's, I've seen bigger. It does have a good flow to it. Back in 2006, there was a slide, and the river took a different shape. And then in 2014, it kind of reverted back to what it used to be. So it's a good size. And when the slide hit, they were really paranoid about now flooding because the river couldn't get through.
Crazy. So when I'm looking at it on here and I'm looking at the side of the plots, I'm assuming it's not something you can just roll up your pant leg and walk across. It's a little bit more substantial.
Oh no. Yeah, there's some spots you could probably go, you know, 20 feet, and it would probably hit waist, and then you'd hit the more of the center of the little river, and but it had some strength to it. So, you know, even if there was, I think it would waist deep. It might, you know, take you down.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you talking about that for a minute, because I want people to see that when the slide comes down, it's taking all of that, including going through that river and pulling all kinds of things into that community. And that's, you know, I think it's really interesting because we don't always understand the power behind these things. I mean, you know, not only is water powerful, but you've got, you know, this just huge area of a mountain almost coming down and taking everything with it and churning everything, and how crazy that must be. My question for you is, how did your brother find himself in this community? Did he live there, or was he there visiting or doing some work or something like that?
Yeah, he lived in Darrington, and to make a long story short, he was working and then going to school at night, and he got his bachelor's degree, his master's degree, his associate's degree, just working nights. And he would, you know, drive 2 hours to school at night because it was in Tacoma, and then he would drive back to, you know, Darrington, and then get up the next morning and go to school. So every place he applied to just always told him he was overqualified, and it came to the point that, you know, he needed insurance. So he got a job. He took the position at Dish Network, and Amanda Lennox just bought that home 2 weeks prior, and so he went to install the dish for her, and he arrived at 8:30 in the morning, and they assumed that it would take roughly right around 2.5 hours. And so the GPS on his van showed that was the last place he was. So they were estimating that he was probably on the roof, adjusting the satellite dish for her, that he was complete.
Yeah, a lot of thoughts are going through my mind. What a small window of time, right? And I think what's important for people to think about is each moment in our life, you never know what's going to happen, you know. So he was there
Absolutely.
doing a job, and then something like this happens. It's crazy.
Yeah, he probably had enough time to maybe blink. The way the slide came and where Amanda's home was sitting, I was told that the direction that was probably the first home hit, and there was just, you know, maybe a snap, crackle, and a pop, and it wasn't a normal slide. It wasn't like you pour water on an incline and it gradually comes down. It dropped. It's like if you put pressure on a balloon and then it blows out. So when the side of the mountain dropped, it had nowhere to go. So the compression just went. And there was a couple of people that were located, I don't know, 80 yards outside of the debris field with no mud or nothing on them. So they're thinking that the pressure, the compression, just kind of blew them out the debris field. So like I said, it wasn't a normal slide. When we were searching for my brother, there was a lot of jaws dropping and eyes that were just open, because FEMA search and rescue, they've never seen nothing like this. So they just, they say that part of it is kind of like what they've seen at Mount St. Helens with blast debris around the edges of the slide, because when it came down and the pressure, and then it blows out. So, and everything on the north side of the highway, except for now the memorial, has not been touched. So there's 80-foot mounds still out there, just nothing. I mean, but in all reality, there's that's all of what came down. So everything there was part of the side of the mountain.
Some of what you're saying, it reminds me almost of when part of a glacier falls. Like it just drops, and there's so much pressure and power that it sounds like thunder almost. I wonder if what it sounded
Yes.
like for people. It probably sounded like a train coming or something,
I've heard like a plane was flying very low. A couple of people have told me that they thought that a plane was going to crash, or a train. So that's the kind of sounds that I've heard.
Yeah. Let me ask this question. Let me ask this question about the days, maybe weeks, leading up to that event. So we know it was very rainy. And maybe you don't know any of this, but was there any other alerts or concerns? Like, were they worried about the river flooding? Was anything else said? Or was this completely out of the blue, unexpected for everybody?
From my knowledge, there was no warnings of the river flooding or anything. Like I said, there was a slide back in 2006, and they put up, I'm going to call them like pillars, but they were probably 6 feet in diameter, and they laid them to where it should have helped prevent future slides, if I'm making sense. And they were snapped in half like a toothpick. It's like they weren't, I mean, yeah, you could just take a toothpick and snap it, and it would probably look like them pillars that they had there. So, but like I said, there was no, from my knowledge, and like I did not live there, but every once in a while my brother would tell me he would have to drive the long way around to go to work because the road was flooded. So when it got to a certain point, he would have to go the back way, which was an extra hour, but nothing in that particular area at that time. And the day that it happened, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful, beautiful day. Just gorgeous. remember it just like it was yesterday.
Unbelievable. So this next portion of the interview, I want to spend some time here, and if it gets too much, or if you need me to divert or change, just let me know, because I want to get into really the deeper experience of the family. So would you be willing to share your thoughts and experiences starting at the time when you were made aware that the slide occurred and that your brother was on site? Could you talk about that for you and your family?
I got a call from my father-in-law. My wife and I, we were outside in the backyard. Like I said, it was a Saturday morning and it was beautiful outside, so I didn't get his call right away. He left me a message, so we called him back, and he asked if we heard about the slide, and I told him no, and he says, is that anywhere with your brother? And I go, no. I said, my brother lives in Darrington, not Oso. I said, so, no. I said, no biggie. So, thinking nothing of it. You never think that anything's going to happen to your family. It's just not going to happen. So, I sent my brother a text, and we go back outside, got caught up doing everything that we were doing. And then a couple hours later realized I didn't get a message or nothing from my brother. So I tried him again, and then I tried to get a hold of his wife, his kids, and couldn't get a hold of them. So, you get a little concerned, and so you send messages, you leave voicemails. About 20 minutes or so later, I got a call from my other brother, and he says that he feels that he thinks that Steve got caught in the slide. And nothing registers. What do you mean? Well, nobody can get a hold of him and this and that. So I told him, I said, okay. So we just tried to get a hold of my sister-in-law and my nieces. And then evening came around, and I've been to his house maybe a half a dozen times, but know one way to get there, and that's it. So I'm trying to find if he always talked about the back road or the back way. So I'm pulling up maps and everything and trying to look. And then my one niece got a hold of me and told me that she's heading the back way now, that she'll get a hold of me and let me know when she gets home. She said that there's a dead zone, a certain distance, that she won't be able to contact me. So then I didn't hear from her. And now it's late, it's dark. So I talked to my other brother, and we said we're going to head out first thing in the morning. So we, first thing in the morning, it must have been about 5 o'clock. My wife and I and my other brother, we jumped in my car and we drove up there, and we were stopped in downtown Arlington, and FEMA was there. So they were asking all the information about my brother, tattoos, whatever information we could give them. And so we asked, how do we get through? And so they told us how to drive around. So we drove around. We went to my brother's home and saw my sister-in-law, and wanted to make sure, what's going on, what they know, what they don't know. And then my other brother and I, we drove out, and there was multiple cop cars that told us that the slide's still low, they're not real unstable. So we said, okay, so we went back and saw my sister-in-law and them, and then we headed home, grabbed clothes, and came back and spent 7 weeks up there.
So at the point,
and then we would just have to log in. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, at this point where you were about ready to go back home to get clothes, is it confirmed that your brother was at that community doing some work? Did you know at that point? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
We because he was at work, and that's got a hold of his work, and that's where his GPS showed the last location where he was. So we knew that he was at Amanda Lennox's home.
Wow. And so you said for the next 7 weeks you were up there on site doing what you could?
We were up there, and we would leave on Sundays, Sunday afternoons, go home, drop off clothes, said hello to the wife and son, and gave her all the dirty stuff, and headed back up there on 3-4 o'clock on Monday morning, and then went and signed in, and we were told multiple times that they have located my brother, and it just never became true for a long time. So we would stay. We were told that somebody's going to come and talk to us, and so we're sitting at the house and waiting for people to show up, and nobody shows up. And then we were told that they found them, so we're driving over towards Everett to go to the where anybody that was located, that's where they took them. So we would go there, and then they would ask the same information. Well, can you give us some identification on, tattoos, or did he have broken bones or plates, and then that was a good way to, make sure that the person that we were looking for, they're going to give us the correct information.
That up and down, you said, they thought they found him, and then it wasn't the case. That must have been grueling for you and your family.
Yeah. Very much so. It was a roller coaster. I mean, you don't want the bad news, but when it came to a point that we knew that it wasn't a search anymore, and that it was a location that they can bring them home, that's was our job. We wanted to bring them home. That's what we were there for.
I'm sure the site, the location, with everything going on, must have been crazy, feverishly, people moving around trying to locate people, find things, especially early on. Do you feel that there was still a lot of folks on site, even weeks out, trying to identify every single last person? Yeah.
That was the goal was to bring everybody home, everybody. And there was 43 people. And, my brother was a Marine, and they leave no man behind, no woman, no child. And I truly, truly did believe that because of who my brother is, that he would have been the last one found, because he would want everybody out before him. And he was found, he was the 42nd found out of the 43. And he was found on Memorial Day weekend, 2 months after, to the day that the slide happened.
Wow. Can you take a minute and walk us through that moment when he was identified and what that meant for the family, for all of you?
I kept in touch with Snohomish County Sheriff's Department, and there was one guy that I spoke to all the time on a daily basis. If I didn't call him, he called me. And we, on the 7th week, we came home, and I got a call from the sheriff, and he says, every time I talk to him, he always asks, how you doing? And he says, I just want to let you know, he says, before you hear it from anybody else, he says, we found human remains. And he says, and it was on the Darrington side. And I go, yeah. And he says, but he says, I'm not 100% sure. He says, we have to do the testing and this and that. And I said, okay. He said he was going to go the following morning. He was going out. And I said, okay. And he said that, hang on one second. Shh! Go lay down. Sorry about that. So he called me the next morning, and he says, I could still hear his voice. And he says, how you doing? And I said real good, and asked him how he was doing. And he told me, he goes, he says, John, he says, we got them. He said, we got all of them. I just didn't understand what he was saying. And I go, what are you talking about? He says, we found them. He says, we got all of them. And I go, give me 2 hours and I'll be there. It takes about, 2.5 hours to get there, depending on traffic. And I could have made it there an hour and a half to 2 hours. He goes, no. He says, we're waiting for the coroner to show up. He says, we can't do anything. And I said, no. I said, I'll see you in 2 hours. And so he told me, he goes, no. He says, you got to remember, he's been out here for 2 months. And he says he's got a lot of fractures. He says you don't want to remember him this way. He says, I'm pleading with you. He says, I'll call you later. He says, but if you can just give me some information, wedding rings, anything like that. So we were digging up pictures and so on and so on. And my wife and I, we went to a play later that night. And he called me about 8:30, 9 o'clock that night. And they did DNA testing on what they found that morning and what they found the day before. And it was a match, so it was all of him. So we were one of the blessed families that were able to bring home my entire brother.
So, how did the community come together um, during this time, after this time? Were they supporting? Is there a lot of support there? Now, I mean, in your case, I know you live a little distance away, but were you able to, um, or even your brother's family, able to utilize any support groups or anything during this time or after?
That community is amazing. A horrible, horrible thing happened up there, but if that would have happened anywhere else, 43 people would not have been found. The 11 survivors would have probably not been 11 survivors. The community being lumber mills, they knew that area better than FEMA. They were telling FEMA what they need to do, because FEMA's never experienced something like this, from talking to the people that I spoke to. And the guys running excavators, the people, just so many people that came together, and businesses that completely shut down and took all their equipment, all their employees, still paid them, and had them go out to the slide until everybody was found. There's one guy, and a good friend of my brother's, his name was Bob DeYoung. God bless him, he passed away a few years after the slide. But he had a company up there, and he had everybody go out there, an Amazon of a man. But he was out there from day one with his crew, his people. He had one of his excavators go down. A guy from Shelton, which is, I think it's like 6 hours away, a $20,000 piece of equipment he gave him to get his excavator back up and going to go out there and finish doing the job. So the community's phenomenal. There's people up there that are family to me. I love them with all my heart. So yeah, it's a phenomenal community.
That's good. That's I'm happy for the people in that area that they have such a strong community that came together and comes together to accomplish those things. I mean, that's kind of like the story of America in its best moments, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You've kind of gone through this a little bit in bits and pieces. Did you want to? Is there anything else about your emotional journey from grief to healing to any resilience that you, your family, his family, have gone through that you'd like to share? I know a lot of that may be just personal, but I'm always thinking in terms of how can others be lifted by the strength of people that have gone through things? And so that's why I asked the question.
For me, being around the people, and every year on the anniversary date, we gather up there. Some people can go and some people can't. Not physically that they can't go, it's just mentally they can't go. So for me, being around the people that are going through the same thing that I am, it's tremendous. It's huge because you can talk about it all day long, and as we are, and people just can't. It's hard to explain, but they don't understand unless they went through the same thing, because it wasn't nothing minor. I mean, I can still smell the smells. I can still taste the taste. Certain things trigger you. Helicopter noises. Different little things kind of still trigger you. The end of February, beginning of March, the demons start creeping out again. I believe the more you can talk about it, again, it doesn't get easy. You learn how to deal with it. So, but the more you can talk about it, the more it's released, and it's not built up pressure inside. So the more that I can try to talk to it and explain it to somebody, even if it's one person, and it helps them, I'll talk about it all day long. My therapy for the last 10 years has been the memorial. Fighting to make sure that we got it built with respect, that it honored the 43 people that were lost, the 11 survivors, the first responders, and the community. So, and that after 10 years has been accomplished, and that was also a major roller coaster with the highest highs and the lowest lows. So, now it's over. See what next year brings, who shows up at the memorial. I know where I'm going to be on March 22nd. Until the day I die, that's where I will be.
I did see pictures, a few of the area that has been built up in memorial, and it's beautiful. It's an amazing place. It looks like, to go there and feel the spirit of things, and to contemplate, and just I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a powerful place. So I'm glad that's up and available for people.
Yeah, it was. In September, after the slide, we planted 43 trees, but we just felt that it wasn't enough. You put in paths, you make it look nice, but it didn't represent the legacies of the families. So the people that were lost. So it's, one talk after another, one person gets involved, and the people that we had on the committee and dealing with the parks. I'm not a political person, but the politicians that battled for us to be able to get the funds to do this. And again, I will mention Snohomish County Parks. We would still be struggling. And, we had a plan at the 5-year, exactly what it was going to look like. We started the funding, and it just did not move. And then, about 2 years in, Then we found out that there was funds, and we just nailed it. We just went at it, grabbed a bull by the horns and went. And the artist that we were able to get is spectacular. And I know people that do art and they get paid for it. That's their job. But you can tell everything that she did, it was from the heart. She has her own story why she wanted to get involved. I am blessed to call her my friend, my family, and I just love her and her husband with all my heart, and they will always have a piece of my heart. She's everything that she did, you can tell that there's her heart was involved, and she's got a reason for why she did certain things. So God brought the right people at the right time, at the right place, for us to be able to get this completed and to be able to have a place to go that's not a tree, that you could gather with others, that whoever hasn't started healing or couldn't can now. You got a place to go and cry. You got a place to go and talk. Me, myself, I feel my brother when I'm there. I know it's weird to say, but I can feel him. I can feel his presence, and so it was well worth the ups and downs and the battles that we had to go through and everything else. But it turned out spectacular. I mean, there's not another memorial like it, and it fits the community. It fits the first responders. In the first responders area, we also added in dog prints, because the 43 would not have been found without the rescue dogs. So we needed to make sure that we hit every area that we could for every family member, each personal panel. Just everything about it is perfect.
It looks amazing. I'm so glad that's happened. John, let me ask you, what is your favorite memory of Stephen?
He would he would send me pictures right outside his window. There's a mountain up there. It's called White Horse Mountain, and it's a beautiful area up there. And he would send me pictures and say, "Here's my view this morning," while he's drinking coffee, and then I'd send him a picture of a building or whatever, and okay, well, I'm at work and this is my view. And so that sticks in my brain more than anything. But he just loved the area. He just, he wanted to get away from the city, and he accomplished that. I mean, you can go back and think of all the what ifs, but it will, I just think it'll destroy anybody that tries doing the what ifs. And I do believe, my faith tells me that there's no matter if it's good or bad, there's a reason for everything. And I have to believe that as bad as this was, that it is a learning curve for search and rescue, for FEMA, and a whole lot of other people that it will save hundreds of thousands of lives in the future. And I have to stick to that because I'd end up in a mental institution if I didn't, and trying to think, the whys. I mean, because my brother was 53, he was way too young. And I'm not gonna, challenge God's plan. Why? I mean, but a why is a rough word for me to not understand.
Yeah. No, I hear you. You mentioned something about just seeing and understanding kind of like the workings of the first responders and stuff like that. That leads me to a question that I had, which is that event and the way it happened, does it impact your outlook on just environmental safety issues and stuff like that? Like, is it something that maybe that state and other places can learn, hey, there may have been some warning signs that we can really use to make sure this doesn't happen again? Do you feel like there was opportunity for people to learn from that? Not just the community, but just even at a higher level, the government and things like that.
There was signs that were not, I'm trying to word this correctly, if the families would have known that it's a slide zone, the turnout could have been totally different. As I said, there was a slide in 2006, and if I'm not mistaken, there was one back in 68, 69, something like that. So there were signs, but they still built homes. And, talking with some of the family members that survived, that lived there, one guy, I got really, really close to, and he's will be my brother for the rest of my life. He lost his wife and grandbaby, his whole house, everything. And he was one that it was never mentioned that it was a slide zone. And he would have his wife with him today because she would have never allowed them to live in that area if they were told. So there was a big lawsuit. I don't know what all was done on the government level, but the lawsuit, it seems like not the family members, but others are okay with that it's over. That part of it was over because it was settled. But no amount of money is going to bring back your family, your brother, your friends, your wife, your husband. I mean, I deal with these people for, doing personal panels and talking with them, getting to know the person that was lost. You could have gave them $100 million and they don't want it. I mean, it's a settlement, but it's not satisfaction in any way, shape, or form. So and I don't know it all, but all I know is from what family members have told me that, the warnings were there, but they still chose to build homes. So that to me, it should have been a decision that should have been known. It's like if you live in a flood area, hey, it's supposed to be right there. It's supposed to be out there for you to know. And then it's your decision on what you want to do. So it just, like I said, I don't know all the politics about it. I don't know all of the hereofs, therefores, however they word things in their paperwork. But I do believe that if there was a notice, some people, probably like myself, I'm pretty stubborn, I would have probably said, that's never going to happen. We're going to build a home. It's a beautiful area. Poof. But then there's other people that would have probably said, we're not going to take that chance. And that should have been the family's decision and not the government's decision on the homes being built there or not. That's just my 2 cents. I see the pain that these guys go through. To this day, I still see the pain. And it just tears me up. It tears me up.
Well, I was going to say that that's not what I'm going to talk about for a second is not what the show or the podcast is about, but it is important, I think, because I live here in Utah, and just last year they had a new community being built up on the side of a mountain, and I always wonder how far they're going to go up and how close to the edge, because it really seems dangerous. And last year, 2 to 3 homes fell right off. They were built, and they literally collapsed and fell down the mountain, down the hill. And one of them had somebody in it, and they had to get out because they could hear the noises of everything happening, and they saw things starting to lower. And I keep thinking, there's 2 things there. There's us. We can't always trust what's being told, and we got to do some looking into it. But the other thing is, this is the role of government, is to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen. And to me, it's scary, and we all should be very careful about how much trust we put into what we don't get told. Because of that example that you're talking about, and the example that I just mentioned, and it's scary. To me, it's scary. So.
Absolutely. I will never own a home on a hill. I will never own a home below a hill. And it doesn't have to be a big hill. We moved into this house about 4 years ago. And that was the first stipulation to our realtor. No homes on a hill, no homes at the bottom of a hill. Not going to happen. I won't even go look. Just driving to the memorial itself, you're in a valley between hills, and it's I tell you, I white knuckle it sometimes because you don't know. And maybe that's just me. I just think that's something that that I'll be dealing with just because of that. But it's just, you're 100% correct. I mean, you don't know. But as you stated, it's their job. I mean, they need to keep the people safe. And if it's not a correct place to build a home, I mean, I tell you, I see it every day I drive to work. I see these homes way up on these hills, and it looks like they're 20 feet away from the edge. And it's like, gosh, how deep is that foundation? But it in this case, if something was built, it wouldn't have mattered because it was 1,500 feet wide and 400 or 500 feet tall. So, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered how deep the foundation was. Or if they put, steel rods, 50 feet down, it would not have mattered. They would have still came down.
Yeah.
And everything about that, I mean, the structure of the side of that hill with the clay and then the sand. The clay, when it was wet, was like you're on a sheet of ice. But when it was dry, it was hard as cement. So you can start thinking, and with the amount of rain, and then the sand, if you've ever been like on railroad ties that may have a little bit of sand on it, or any type of wood, and it's got a little bit of sand on it and it's wet, you slide, you could slip and fall. Amplify that with 100 million tons of debris coming down. That's a lot of weight. I mean, it's a lot of weight. The main highway is 25 feet up from where it used to be. It's all on top of what used to be there. So it's a lot of weight.
Yeah, when that stuff starts coming down, there's nothing that can stop it. And it's scary. It should never happen again, anywhere. It's crazy. John,
Absolutely.
What do you hope going forward for you, for all the family, as you heal and recover from this? Like, I know it will never go away, but what are your hopes as you go forward, to just kind of have this be in a place for you emotionally that gives you something positive going forward and not so painful? Any thoughts there?
Like I said, the last 10 years have been all about the memorial, and the day after the memorial, I told my wife when I woke up, it just felt like a huge weight was lifted. I mean, I can tell you, I didn't put my family on hold, but there wasn't a meeting I missed. There wasn't anything that I did not do to help with this being completed. I made a promise to my brother, and I made a promise that he would come home, we would find him, and I made a promise that this would be completed. There was times I never thought it would, and it is. So it's nice to know that's there, not just for me. I mean, you meet people from different states, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Oregon, Idaho. I mean, just all over the states, Boston. So you meet people and they ask questions. So you talk to them, you start crying, they start crying. They like to understand. So it's, it is not just healing for me, but hopefully it is the start for some, or at least a place where a lot of people can go, now that you have a place to go. There's individual panels for family members. You know, there was one that was 6 family members. There was another one that was 4. There was multiple that were, 2 people. And then there was individuals. So each has their own. So you can go, I can talk to my brother. He's got his picture up there. So you can talk to him. You can walk and go visit the others. It is a place of healing. To me, it's not just a memorial to say that there's a memorial. It's a healing place. I mean, it's so hard to explain my reasoning and talking to others. It is a memorial. You can go, you can visit it, you can look, you can see the slide. But it's more. Maybe because it's so personal to me with my brother and the last 10 years, but it's just more than a place to say that there's a memorial. It's hard to put in words, but it's more than that. We're able now to be able to, when you walk through the memorial, it takes you on a journey. You see the first responders area, you've got the gathering area, you've got, the survivors. You go through the personal panels. The way that Sovinar, the artist, made the panels is they're all curved. I don't know if you've noticed them, but she made them that way to where you get up and close and personal. It like hugs you. That's why everywhere you walk on the path, all the panels are arched inwards. So it's much more. And I really hope that it's a place where somebody can go that they couldn't go before, but now they can, because now they have a place to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it sounds like there was a lot of thought and love going into how you can interact and connect with that space. That's awesome that they've done it that way. And that it's powerful like that for everybody.
Yeah, talking with the artist, she's got so much on her reasonings. Like I said, with the curves, and it's just remarkable what she has done for my family and the others. And I think it, in the planning process, I think it was something that we hit every area that was important. And that was high on my priority list, because again, my brother was involved, but there was 42 others, the thousands of people in the community, the first responders that came from all over the states, FEMA, search and rescue, the community, that had to be part of it. And that's what it's based on.
Yeah. Well, John, I originally told you 30 minutes to an hour, and we're over, so I don't want to eat up more time than you have set aside. But as we get towards the end of the interview, I want to ask you, is there anything you wanted to share? Is there anything that you'd like to bring up, or did you expect maybe I would have asked something and maybe I just failed to do it? Is there anything you'd like to share at this point, or even get off your chest about any of this?
No, I think you've been very polite. I've enjoyed our conversation. I mentioned to you before, if there was something that wasn't comfortable, I would tell you. For me, I'm an open book. People need to know about the area. And any chance that somebody can get, it's one of the best things that they'll ever see. It's so beautiful. It's such a sad place, but a place to go that you can really take it in. And like I say, it's all anything that you ask, I try to say it as clear as possible to where it's somebody can understand where I'm coming from. So I do appreciate your time, your respect. It's been probably one of the best interviews I've had with someone. So I thank you for that.
And I thank you for sharing. I know this is going to be very valuable for people to spend a moment thinking of this situation, your experiences, and for us to remember we have a lot to be thankful for. Love and spend time with the people while you have them, because we just never know what happens. And so, as we wrap up the call here real quick, John, let me keep you on for just a couple minutes after we end the recording. And I just want to encourage the audience that when you watch this, please continue to watch past this point, because there will be a short memorial with video and pictures and stuff like that I think will be wonderful for you to see. So watch the episode to the end, and thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, take care of yourself.